All right, so what we're about to talk about is what nobody in the fitness space or the fitness industry wants to talk about or wants you to know, because it effectively ends your dieting run, right? We're talking about metabolism repair, how to fix your body. Is metabolism repair real? Is your metabolism actually broken, or what is happening, right? First off, who am I? Why you should listen to me, right? My name's Matt Mosseri. I run a very successful fitness coaching company. I've coached almost 1,000 people one-on-one, not group programs, not challenges, but legit one-on-one in the text messages daily, checking in with people, getting the results, right? What I've learned from that is effectively how to adapt a program and a lifestyle for people to where they can be social, feel amazing in their body, get the results that they always wanted and never thought was possible, and how to sustain it long term through repairing their body back to optimal functioning, which is what we're going to talk about now. One of the biggest things that you find is that people are really good at dieting and really terrible at sustainment. And every time they go down this path, all it does is create another scar on the cycle system of dieting, to where your brain gets further ingrained in the idea that you diet for a period of time, you get some results, you can't keep it, you go back to doing what you were doing before. And the fundamental flaw that is there is the belief system that there is nothing real that you can live an actual lifestyle in long term. And that is where the system has failed, right? And, quick story. When I started first coaching, I knew I had something special, right? I have a certain spin on the way that I structure macros and macronutrient timing to make fat loss very fast and metabolism repair a lot faster than normal for people. But at the same time, when I first started, like 2023, started really putting this hardcore. I've been coaching since 2013, but once I got on Instagram and started coaching people, virtually, I knew I had something magical, but at the same time, people were falling off because, the same thing. This wasn't a lifestyle-based system. It was like, hey, how do we solve this problem? And then once people solve the problem, they would just be like, oh, I'm good now. I'm gonna go back and do what I was doing before. So I built a system around creating, all the places that people fall off at, right? How do you create a social life and still make progress? How do you enjoy your anniversary, your kids' birthdays? How do you do all of this, feel normal, look normal, and still get into the best 1% elite shape possible? That's what we're talking about today. All right, so typically, people in the situation to where they would need a metabolism repair or a metabolic repair period, they're going to be people that are eating healthy but not losing weight. They're just exhausted from continually dieting. The scale hasn't moved in months or years, but they won't change anything no matter what. Doing cardio, tracking food, cutting carbs, and still nothing's changing at all, right? It doesn't matter whether you tweak one thing and then all of a sudden, add in there, you feel sluggish, inflamed, tired, and then you add in there the fact that nothing's changing no matter which lever you pull. So you have to believe that something is legitimately broken, right? It can't be your body, because how could it adjust to all these things? The truth is this: at that point, your body is actively fighting weight loss because it's trying to keep you alive, right? And it sounds extreme, but it's not. It's your body's system where it tries to maintain homeostasis all the time by preferentially not letting you eat the fat that's on here and slowing your metabolism down to account for that, right? All right, so typically people have tried many programs before, but the most common ones are going to be keto, intermittent fasting, which is great, but it needs to be structured a certain way. Weight Watchers, calorie counting, Eat Wise, the chicken soup diet, or some kind of soup diet. They've had personal trainers, gym memberships that they stopped using, probably still have, because it makes them feel a little bit better about the process, that they have the capability to go to the gym and they didn't close that door completely. They effectively have put themselves on elimination diets, right? To where they don't eat full food groups, carbs are bad for them. They've just decided that they have a gluten intolerance, even though they haven't been tested for it and stuff like that. Right? They feel typically their body's fighting against them. Most people think medically something's wrong with them, and most of the time that's usually true also. They're embarrassed, they're defeated, and they're just they're done trying so many times without getting a result. And they're typically the people that are the most anti-dieting out loud. They'll be the ones that are like, Sally, what are you doing? That's so stupid. Like, you're trying this program, like, just live your life. Because they feel so bad inside about where they're at and the fact that they've tried so hard to make a change and they can't, that, you know, they just like, they're trying to sabotage other people and they can't help it. It's instinctual inside them, because like bringing them down to their level will, you know, like where everybody's failing at this, they don't feel as bad, right? And the worst part about it is the harder you try, the more stuck you feel, like long term, right? I've been there myself and I know how it feels, right? And a lot of times the themes out there are, and you hear this on Instagram, TikTok, social media, like as a whole, eat less, move more, calories in versus calories out, just stay in a deficit. Like, you know, if you're not losing weight, you know, you're an idiot and you can't stay in a deficit, right? So we typically, if somebody's body isn't running so like great that the second that they alter calories, something amazing doesn't happen, we shame the shit out of them all the time and make them feel bad, right? More cardio equals more fat loss, and you just need more discipline, right? All the stuff that like I've heard coaches say to people that I've coached after the fact, right? Typically, just remember, like by the time people come to me, like I typically help chronic dieters between 35 and 55 who are busy, have kids, and really have almost given up, and this is like their last chance. So they've had a ton of coaches before. So I've heard all this stuff being said to people, right? You know, the biggest thing is this, you know, all these sayings that I just said, or these phrases, are based on the fact that like we're treating your body like a math equation, right? We're ignoring hormones completely, like metabolic adaptations. You know, your body's trying to stay at homeostasis, like I said. We ignore the fact that like you've tried this so many times before and you haven't been able to do it, but you should be able to do it this time. Just keep hammering in there, right? Without changing the plan. It's really a short-term cycle that we're in of feelings and psychology packaged as like the long-term solution, even though it's never going to get there, right? The real problem that we see is that this works for 6 to 8 weeks, then your body adjusts, right? And when we talk about that, this is why metabolic repair phases exist, because as you lower calories, right? Think of it this way, right? Calories and metabolism are always equal. We lower calories for a period of time. Everybody's going to be slightly different, but your metabolism will slow down to equate to those calories, right? So what do you do then? Hey, I stalled out. Lower calories more, till we get down here, right? Now, effectively, you're eating, let's say 800 calories a day. And it doesn't matter. You could be 150, 175 pounds. You're eating under 1,000 calories a day. You're at maintenance. You are now at maintenance down here at 800 calories because your body has slowed down to that output. And you'll see this systemically in like your waking body temperature, right? Like mine at one point when I was going hardcore in jiu-jitsu was high 95s when I was waking up. My body was running so slow and so cold, and like nobody even knew to check that, right? And this whole idea about your pulse rate being like, you know, low because you're an elite level athlete, it's legitimately your body's adaptation to the fact that it can't continue under eating and over exercising for that period of time, like, you know, running 30 miles or whatever straight. So your body slows down the output of everything, including your heart. If you think about your heart running at a 40 beats per minute, that's super duper slow. That's like a second and a half, you know, per beat, super duper slow. The whole body is running colder, slower. All right, eventually you end up under eating, and there's no like mystery at that point. Most people come in and they're very well aware with the fact that there's some type of metabolic damage that's happened, right? The biggest thing that most people don't really see here is like who's your friend and who's not. The diet industry profits when you fail and come back, so they will not help you correct this long term, right? They'll give you GLPs that'll correct it, and you can look in the mirror and go, I corrected that. But did you correct it? No, you have to stay taking these drugs that don't have a long-term proven background forever to maintain this, because you've learned nothing new. If anything, as soon as you get off of it, you're going to gain back all the weight plus more, because food noise is going to feel like this new thing that you've never seen before. But let's not, you know, go off on a tangent there. I'm a habitual like tangenter. So, all right, why are you actually stuck, right? That's the biggest thing. People are going to tell you it's excuses and not like physiology, but you know, chronic dieting, years of restriction trains your body to conserve like whatever fat we have, whatever energy we have, and not burn it off, right? Your metabolism adjusts, your hormones will adjust as far as like what happens to leptin, ghrelin, insulin, stuff like that. These hormones that matter, if you want to look up those individually, by all means, or I'll do another video on it. Like too much cardio, not enough protein, under eating, like muscle loss can occur, but like it just depends. I'm not so much concerned about muscle loss as I am like nervous system dysregulation, nervous system damage, and the fact that there's no structure. So, the idea of, this problem, I have people come in all the time. They've been dealing with this problem for 10 years, right? And they have this belief system that they're one tweak away from actually solving this problem. And it's baffling, because like I've been there too, and I remember feeling like that, but like how we can generate this level of belief in something that we haven't seen. The example I always use is going to work and not getting paid, right? With my clients, I always tell them this, because they'll come in and be like, yeah, I haven't been going to the gym. Like I feel like I'm just like a lazy, like POS. And I'm like, listen, I wouldn't go to the gym if I was where you're at either. And I try to shift that blame off of them and that guilt because it's true, right? And the work example is this. If you showed up for work because you're an amazing employee who's dedicated to, the business and stuff like that, and you didn't get paid, how long would you keep showing up there with the same enthusiasm? How long would you show up at all? So I always tell my new clients, hey, the idea that you're going to the gym at all for the last 3 years when you've seen no benefit from it in your mind, that's amazing, right? Like you showed up to work for 3 years for somebody who wasn't paying you, right? Is it silly? Maybe, but like it's also super dedicated. So like what I like to shift right off the bat is the idea that, people that have failed at dieting so many times aren't losers. They're people who refuse to lose. They refuse to accept the fact that they can't figure this out. A lot of them though are like a little like, in the wrong direction here at the fact that they're going to figure it out on their own, just like me. And like the truth be told, I did actually figure it out on my own, right? I had some coaches along the way, but like, the basis of what I built here, I figured out on my own. It took me 20 years though, right? The opportunity cost of 20 years of time, effort, I wouldn't do it again. Like I would hire every single person to help me along the way before I would do this again for 20 years because I felt terrible in my body for such a long period of time. I had hope in so many different diets and different areas that were never going to help me. And at the end of the day, like I got here, but it wasn't for a lack of effort. I'll tell you that. So when people shame you and say, just cut the calories, like you're obviously like going to McDonald's 3 times a day, right? They have no concept of what it is to be in a completely dysfunctional environment inside your body, right? All right, so gut dysfunction is another huge thing, right? We definitely need to look at digestion. That's one of the biggest things as far as like when clients first come in, trying to figure out what's going on with them, right? And the truth is this, you didn't fail the diet failed your body, right? The system that you were using wasn't built for you, right? It might've been built for the 20-year-old, it might've been built for the masses, right? But individualized to you, it wasn't there, right? Metabolic repair. A strategic process of rebuilding metabolic output, right? This is teaching your body that it's okay to burn the fuel because more fuel is coming in at a very systematic basis, right? Also restoring hormonal function and building the capacity to eat more while losing fat, which is what everybody wants, right? And this is the long-term game. This isn't a 30-day fix, right? What metabolic repair is not. It's not another diet. It's not eating less. It's not some ridiculous detox or cleanse that, everybody's making money on you struggling with this process as long as possible, right? It's not another supplement protocol. It's not really any supplements at all. And it's not magic by any means. This is a process. What most people never hear about is that this doesn't sell a quick fix, right? So metabolic repair is the not sexy side of dieting, right? Which is why you don't see it. Everybody wants to, have somebody lose 50 pounds and then post a picture before and after. And then you go, oh my gosh, I want that. I want to do that, right? And then you give them your money. The thing is this, the real important side of this is the part to where somebody takes their calories from, let's say 1,200, right? Like a female who's 125 pounds post weight loss, takes her calories from 1,100, 1,200 to 2,500 a day, and she can eat whatever she wants. Nothing will touch her metabolism. She has completely repaired her relationship with food. She doesn't have cravings. She's not scared of carbs. That is the magical side of this, right? This also requires a real strategy. It's not a product, right? It's not some like, get in shape in 6 days or something, right? Or come try this out. This is like, understanding the process and like I always talk about having clarity from day one, clarity on what we're doing, where we're going and why it works, right? Diet industry isn't big on clarity. They're big on mystery, right? The more mystery you have, the more I can bring somebody in, give them stuff, then give them something else and something else and something else, right? Coaches don't teach it because honestly, like I've coached a lot of other fitness coaches and stuff. Most of them don't have a good understanding of fat loss, let alone metabolic repair post-fat loss. So that's the biggest reason that you don't see it being as mainstream. Another term for it is reverse dieting, but just like fat loss, right? Like if we think of reverse dieting in the sense of the same sense as like fat loss, there's 9 million different ways to lose fat. There's a million different ways to like reverse diet. So just saying, oh, my coach knows about reverse dieting, they might not know about doing it like the right way, or maybe they do, like we never really know. Inside my program, what I found the most important is to hit 5 areas at the same time, right? And if you watch my Instagram and stuff like that, you'll hear me talking about it. But the 5 areas are nutrition, workouts, mindset, perspective, and psychological attachments to food, digestion, and hormones and blood work, right? So when people first come into my program, that is the main thing that we're honing in on, me and my team, right? We're dialing in nutrition, we're pushing food to the max, right? To the max amount that you can eat. So, the goal here is to stimulate your metabolism from wherever it's currently hiding at, right? Get it going again, and then from there, we can actually lose fat. Dialing in workouts a way to where you don't have to lift weights, so many days a week. Coupling it with like exercise and weightlifting so that we can systematically like carve out a result that we want week by week. Mindset, perspective, and psychological attachments to food, by far the most important part of any of this, right? People don't fail a diet because of macros. They fail a diet because of cyclical patterns in their mind, right? When people lose weight every single week, they can stay engaged, right? Because they're seeing big wins, but they have one bad week and they say, screw it, this isn't for me. Why am I putting all this effort in? I deserve, a bigger result. Entitlement comes in, expectations, failure. And the biggest thing that you see is that the cyclical pattern revolves like this. People will quit a program and fire their coach because they have the fundamental belief that if the coach is gone and the program is gone, they'll get rid of the guilt that they have for not following that plan. So if you think about how tied in psychologically that is, it's pretty wild, right? So the biggest thing is this: we got to keep the client super engaged in the process and understanding where we're going and the clarity of it, right? Bad weeks don't end the program. Bad days, we plan out holidays, we plan out social events, so you can eat what you want while you're there. They structure the whole day around that event so that you feel normal. And this is a real lifestyle, right? Not like, like how long am I gonna be able to do this till I break, like most diets, right? All right, key points to hit when we're talking about metabolic repair, right? This is a system. It's not like one piece. Most programs address 1 or 2 things. You have to hit all 5 areas, right? You have to hit all these areas at the same time. If you fix nutrition, and the truth is this, right? I know I say that a lot, but the truth is like, most people don't understand that they would need 5 experts to do this correctly, right? They need a nutritionist. They all suck anyway, but they would need a nutritionist to dial in nutrition. They would need a personal trainer to help with like their workout programs. They would need a therapist for their mindset, perspective, psychological attachments to food, naturopathic doctor to hit on digestion, right? And help them like hone in that area. And then an endocrinologist to look at their blood work, tell them what to run, how to read it, and help figure out like what's going on there to see if there's any type of roadblock going on, right? So most people get a partial result and they'll feel good about that partial result because it's something when they were getting nothing. But it's pretty systematically relatively easy if you have a high skill level in this area to dial in these 5 areas for somebody and create the best case scenario long-term for people no matter how old they are. I mean, I coach people in their 60s, I even have a couple people in their 70s all the way down to like their late 20s. You can't out-train like a broken gut either, and you can't like out-diet dysregulated hormones. So you have to dial these areas in, right? Talking about like the past stuff, like every diet you've done before probably made the situation worse, right? You added more cardio, it didn't help, it accelerated muscle loss, right? Like you cut more food, you slowed your thyroid output even more by virtue of, really boosting reverse T3. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it, but that's your body's metabolic brake that it applies and literally blocks your metabolism from working. Dieting stress can spike like your, like cortisol, stuff like that, your other stress hormones. And then you destroyed your relationship with food by constantly telling your brain and your body that you couldn't have certain things. They're not okay for you. Like you're a bad person if you do this, and then you did it anyway. So you've built a whole shame and guilt cycle around this, right? And End of the day, we're not going to try harder. We're going to, it's not about doing something different. It's about having something crystal clear on how you repair your body and finally get the result that you want, right? So the biggest outcome that we're going to get from this is eating more food than you have in years and still being able to lose fat, right? Energy that doesn't crash during the day, no more white knuckling through the hunger. Like on any fat loss phase, there's going to be some hunger, but like it shouldn't be something that where you go, I can't remember the last time I wasn't like starving all the time, right? No matter how much I eat, I'm never full. Your clothes feel better, like you don't stress, you don't have anxiety around pool days and stuff like that. You don't like just have anxiety at all around your body. You feel amazing, digestion's working good, and you feel like you're finally on like the winning side of this, right? And the best part is it's something that's sustainable. Like you have clear expectations on where you're going, how you're going to get there, why it's working, why it's going to continue working, and what you're going to do long-term to maintain this and how easy it's going to be, right? You stop chasing like new diets, new fixes. You get to a point to where you're not even watching fitness reels, except for mine, of course, but you're not even like searching that kind of stuff anymore. You now have all this extra time to focus on other things because like this problem is, getting so small now, right? So how do we actually fix the metabolism, right? Biggest thing is going to be this. Typically, in my experience, what works the best is trying to put somebody into a metabolic repair phase directly when they're still overweight and they want to lose fat. It doesn't equate well in the mind, and compliance is very, very low, right? So typically run them through a fat loss phase to achieve the best case result. I've structured this a certain way in my program that like it works, like very, very well for like almost every single person. And we identify a lot of the, roadblocks along the way as far as digestion, hormones, cyclical thinking, stuff like that, right? Your inability to follow through, take you into the reverse dieting portion of this. And really, we switch over to a carb cycling or nutrient cycling plan on the backside of this, systematically bringing calories up each week and activity down, right? The goal by the end of the metabolic repair phase should be for you to lift weights 3 days a week, right? You have to lift weights. Lift weights 3 days a week, do no cardio at all, other than what's heart healthy. People always get offended by that. But, lifting 3 days a week, having 4 complete rest days. And if that makes you go, that can never be me, you need this more than you've ever thought possible. But I've been able to maintain this look for 7 years. Go on my Instagram, and you can see what I look like currently. For 7 years, lifting weights 3 days a week, having 4 complete rest days. I'll go through periods where I add some cardio back in, and most of the time I keep it out. The goal here is to shift your life away from this being the focus of everything. We're not professional athletes, right? We're professional business owners. I own 2 businesses. I'm a full-time police officer. I work 60 hours a week. I'm a single dad. I can't spend 100 hours a week just thinking about how I feel in my body and working out. So this process has to cruise and solve problems, which is what it does. So if we can take your calories, like I talked about at the beginning, from 1,200 and get them up to, let's say 2,500, 3,000, depend if you're a female, if you're a guy, I've had guys get their calories up to 4,000 or 5,000. All the date nights in the world won't touch that, right? Alcohol won't affect it. But at the same time, we're going to build a lifestyle to where you choose this. You want to be elite. You want to break away from society, feel better, and look better than most people ever have thought possible for them. Because I'm telling you, if you haven't felt that before, it's a different level of success, right? It is not only owning the Lamborghini, it is driving the Lamborghini all day long, right? And that's a different level of success. When you're talking about metabolism repair, a lot of people will come in and say stuff like, I've tried everything, right? And my joke back is, you haven't tried this, right? And my whole business that I've built around, is built around people who have tried everything and are stuck, right? I don't have the time, right? Like I just told you, I coach one-on-one, 130 people. I'm a single dad. I work 60 hours a week as a cop, and I have 2 businesses, a real estate business and this. And I'm still able to get this done, and I teach the same structure that I built for myself. So like I said, think about it this way. We're gonna go through this V of fat loss, metabolic repair. When we go through this process and we get to the end result, you're lifting weights 3 days a week for 45 minutes, and that is it, right? So you have so much more free time. So it's talking about getting through the process to get to the point in times where you have so much time. I'm too far gone. Nobody is, right? You're not too far gone until you're dead. right? So if you're alive, I have people who I worked with as a cop who retired and came back from 270 down to like 185, shredded with a six pack for the first time in their life. It's always possible. And there's nothing I love more than to take people who think it's not possible and make it possible, because those are the best success stories. What if it doesn't work for me? My question for you would be, if it doesn't work for you, like, you already know that what you're doing right now doesn't work for you. So you need to start moving in a different direction as far as like repairing your metabolism and, either losing fat or running the whole process. You need to move. You need to make decisions. Sitting there stuck, nobody wants to be that person, It sounds too good to be true, right? I'll tell you this firsthand. It's not magic and it's not too good to be true. It is a process that took me 20 years of effort. And like, I'm the psychopath that went through all of the points that didn't work here for long periods of time to figure out what did work. So I'll tell you this, it is a process that has been fine-tuned. I would love to say I did it in one like swoop, but let's say 1,500 like renditions of the same thing to get it to where it's at now, and it works like a friggin' machine. All right, the biggest thing is gonna be this, right? So like at this point in time, if you watch this whole video, which I love, you have to make a decision for yourself to like move in one direction, right? So many people are habitual dieters, but also habitual second guessers, habitual procrastinators. And I totally get it. Like I talked about with the work thing earlier, I'd be hesitant to show up for work also. But, I truly believe what I said about the fact that I think those people are the people who refuse to accept failure at this, like I was, and they're gonna get that result. So you just have to keep investing in yourself and finding a different spin on what you're doing that makes sense. Don't just blindly jump into something because you don't wanna be a failure and you're gonna find the answers, but talk to people and find clarity, right? Find something that will absolutely, make sense to you, where you go, that kind of makes sense with science, because that's the biggest thing. When people go through my onboarding, which is my week 1 of my program, it's not a dieting week, it's all onboarding, right? You're going to learn my whole process, how I do it, how I set things up. I want it to be as low stress as possible. Everybody goes, I love what you said. It actually makes sense for once, like on what we're doing and like where we're trying to get to, right? That's what you need in your life. So biggest thing is this, who I coach, right? 35 to 55-year-old chronic dieters who are done like trying to figure this out on their own, and they know they need help, right? At the end of the day, like the average person will hire a personal trainer without even thinking about it, right? And if you think about what a personal trainer costs per month, the average person, like $60 per session, 3 sessions a week, we're talking about upwards of $800 to $1,000 a month for 3 hours a week with somebody who's only dialing in one of the 5 pillars that I mentioned. And like, it's just not going to get it done, right? And you're spending that amount of money every month, and you're just like, for more of the same or more failure, right? So you got to start taking that money back and investing it in different places to try to figure out how to make this work. If you want to see what I'm talking about here in a more in-depth or a faster, more in-depth video on what my actual process looks like, go on my Instagram, comment on any of my reels, the word secret, right? It'll automatically send you a link to my website that has the video on the front page, which is a 5-minute or 7-minute breakdown of the 5 pillars, how they work, what we do. There'll be an application below there that you can fill out, just some quick questions to book a call with me, just to talk about whether this is a good fit for you. What I don't do is try to sell people on anything, because I legitimately have built such an amazing community of people that are so supportive to each other that I'm very concerned about who I let in. So I'd say I probably turn down like 20-30% of the people I do calls with, just because if I can't help you, I'll push you in a different direction, right? Because if you have never really done anything before, maybe you don't need this level of like dialed inness, right? Like, this is for people who can't figure it out, are struggling. If you think like, I got this, I just need like one more plan off ChatGPT, this isn't for you in any fashion at all. This is not for you. Don't waste your time even getting on a call with me. This is for people who understand that like, I don't got it, but I want it, and I'm willing to like really look for the answers. So hit me up on Instagram, the Mosseri Project, comment the word secret on any reel. I'll send you a quick 5-minute video that'll break it all down. The goal of it is clarity for you to feel the best in your body long term, and to stop waking up every day wondering if this is the best you're gonna be, because I'll take you to the best that you're ever gonna be, and I guarantee that.